And United States President Donald Trump's visit to China this week will mark his 7th face-to-face meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The visit will also be the first trip by a US leader to China since 2017. And Karachi, Pakistan, Farhat Qureshi had been cooking most of her life without watching the clock. Now, at 60, her mornings begin with one question: how much can she finish before the gas in her kitchen disappears once again? The cooking gas at her Karachi home comes in short windows in the morning, afternoon, and evening. If she misses a window, the cooking is delayed, food is reheated, plans are changed, and the kitchen waits.
That. French President Emmanuel Macron has announced €23 billion, 27B of investment during the Africa Forward Summit in Kenya. Macron said on Monday that Africa and France had a partnership of equals with common objectives, as he announced €14 billion, 16.4 of investments in private and public funds from French companies and €9 billion, 10.5 BN from African ones on energy transition, agriculture and artificial intelligence, AI.
And Russia and Ukraine have resumed air attacks after a United States brokered 3-day truce expired, with President Volodymyr Zelensky saying more than 200 drones were used to attack Ukraine overnight. Russian aerial attacks across Ukraine's Dnipropetrovsk region on Tuesday morning killed at least one person and injured 4 others, according to Regional Administration Chief Oleksandr Ganja.
That. The first smartphones with 10,000 milliamp hour batteries are already available from brands such as Honor, Vivo and Realme. Huawei may soon join that group, according to Leakster Digital Chat Station. The Leakster claims Huawei has developed a 10,000 milliamp hour battery. The exact capacity remains unclear, but the wording suggests that the battery could be larger than 10,000 milliamp hour. This would make it one of the biggest battery mainstream phones on the market.
And after Punjab and Sindh, the School Education Department of Balochistan has also announced summer vacations for all public and private educational institutions located in the province's summer zones. According to the official notification, the summer holidays will begin on May 23, 2026, and continue until July 31, 2026. All educational institutions falling within the summer zone will remain closed during this period. And BYD has imported demo units of 3 new plug-in hybrid vehicles to Pakistan as the company prepares to expand its local lineup. According to sources familiar with the development, the imported vehicles are currently in Pakistan for evaluation and demonstration purposes. However, the models could later be introduced in locally assembled form. And Pakistan all-rounder Salman Ali Agha said the visitors would definitely push for victory in the first test against Bangladesh, which is scheduled to conclude on Tuesday at the Sher-e-Bangla National Cricket Stadium. At stumps on the 4th day, Bangladesh were 152-3 in their second innings and held a 179-run lead over Pakistan. Captain Najmul Hossain Shanto remained unbeaten on 58, while experienced batter Mushfiqur Rahim was not out on 16. Islamabad. The Supreme Court on Tuesday asked the Islamabad High Court IHC to decide within 2 weeks the pleas of human rights lawyer Ayman Zainab Mazari Hazir and her husband Hadi Ali Chatha, and seeking the suspension of their sentence in the controversial social media posts case. Until the IHC decides upon the petitions, the matter will remain pending before the Apex Court, a 3-judge SC consisting of Justice Shahid Wahid and Justice Naim Akhtar Afghan and Justice Shafi Siddiqui ordered.
That. A few hundred miles from where Chinese leader Xi Jinping will roll out the red carpet for President Donald Trump this week, a shadowy ecosystem has long been at work, pumping billions of dollars into Iran's economy, now helping keep Tehran afloat in defiance of the US. These are the ports, pipelines and oil refineries of Shandong province and its borderlands, where the hulking architecture of oil storage tanks and spindly profiles of smokestacks jut up from barren coastal flatlands.
And If you're shopping for your favorite Calbee chips in Japan and see that familiar bag in black and white, it's not a printing mistake. The Japanese snack maker said on Tuesday it will temporarily change the packaging to grayscale and ditch its typically bright and eye-catching colors in stores nationwide because of supply chain disruptions from the Iran war.
That London United Kingdom trust once lost is hard to claw back. For Palantir Technologies, a leading defense and intelligence software firm in the United States, that the trust that the company established in the United Kingdom on a £1 dog won. That 37 National Health Service NHS contract during the COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020, which translated into a 6-year relationship worth nearly £400 million, 546 metres, has recently eroded. This has been accelerated in part by Palantir's own conduct.
And we are building the land of Israel and destroying the idea of a Palestinian state, said Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich on Friday, the action that brought on his comments Israel's uprooting of 300 Palestinian planted trees in the occupied West Bank, and the destruction of the trees so that illegal Israeli settlements can expand was one of a number of Israeli actions this week that emphasized Israel's continued push to expand its dominance over the West Bank. And it comes as Israel maintains its violent posture in Gaza, killing at least 13 Palestinians there, with a particular focus on police officers.
That Mexico has cancelled plans to shorten its school year before the World Cup after widespread backlash from parents, think tanks and local authorities, the government said. That, following an outpouring of criticism at an announcement by Education Secretary Mario Delgado that the school year would end about 40 days early, that education and other government officials met on Monday to gather input from parents and consider options at a meeting announced by President Claudia Sheinbaum, who expressed skepticism of the proposed shortening. That British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is set to face his cabinet as more than 80 Labour MPs have called for him to resign following the party's devastating local elections losses last week. The cabinet is said to be divided on whether he should remain on and will meet on Tuesday. Starmer's chief secretary, MP Darren Jones, told Sky News the Prime Minister was talking to colleagues but was very clear yesterday that he will not be walking away.
And PUBG Mobile faced controversy after players criticised an in-game item called Hand of the Almighty, claiming it contained religiously insensitive wording or references. The company later posted a public apology on X on May 12, 2026, confirming that the item's name had been updated and later removed following community backlash. And One Network has issued an advisory regarding replacement of older M tags ahead of upcoming charges and blocking deadlines. According to the notice, users with M tags older than 5 years can currently replace them free of cost until May 31, 2026. And TCL CSOT showcased several advanced XR display technologies during Display Week 2026 held in Los Angeles last week. The company's presentation focused on displays designed for extended reality applications, including augmented reality and virtual reality devices. And the Pakistan Space and Upper Atmosphere Research Commission has announced that the new moon of Zil-Hajj 4047H is expected to be born on the 17th of May 2026 at 1:1 Pacific Standard Time PST. At the time of sunset on the 17th May 2026, the age of the new moon will be approximately 18 hours and 30 minutes, with an estimated 60 minutes interval between sunset and moonset along Pakistan's coastal belt. And a renewed campaign by the Municipal Corporation Lahore against stray dogs has triggered controversy, with animal rights activists accusing authorities of using inhumane methods, including poisonous injections, during operations across different parts of Lahore. In recent days, anti-stray dog operations were conducted in Sultan Colony, Township Shad, Bagh, Greentown, and several other areas, following complaints from residents and reports of dog attacks.
At Washington, U.S. President Donald Trump arrives in China on Wednesday for a 3-day state visit that is expected to mainly focus on trade and economic ties. But that the US-Iran conflict is likely to dominate the strategic calculations of both Washington and Beijing. That the May 13 to 15 visit, the first by a sitting US president to China in nearly 9 years, comes at a moment when the world's two largest economies are struggling to stabilize relations after months of tariff disputes, that geopolitical rivalry and growing tensions in the Middle East.
And the Pakistan Space and Upper Atmosphere Research Commission, SUPARCO, on Tuesday forecast that Eid al-Adha was expected to fall on May 27. The new moon of Zilhajj, 447H, is expected to be born on May 17 at 1:1 a.m., it said in a statement. And Eid al-Adha, by its nature, has elements of flesh and blood as part of the festivities. This year, however, Fahad Mustafa and Mehwish Hayat are taking that up several notches with their latest movie Zombaid. The trailer for the film, which claims to be Pakistan's first zombie thriller, dropped on Monday, showing a mix of guts, gore, and some good old Pakistani humor. And a Filipino senator who oversaw former President Rodrigo Duterte's deadly war on drugs has taken refuge inside the country's Senate hours before the International Criminal Court unsealed a warrant for his arrest. Ronald de la Rosa was pictured fleeing into the Senate on Monday as officers chased after him. He narrowly escaped and was placed under protective custody.
That, accused of neo-colonial meddling in many African countries where it has traditionally had close ties, France is broadening its horizons by co-hosting a summit of African leaders in English-speaking Kenya for the first time. Speaking at the Africa Forward Summit in the capital Nairobi on Monday, French President Emmanuel Macron announced investments worth 27 BN, at least 20 BN, in Africa in areas such as energy transition, digital and AI, the maritime economy and agriculture.
And as the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz drives the worst energy crunch in modern history, leading governments to scramble to unload their emergency oil stockpiles, developing countries are among the least prepared to mitigate the shock. Although surging fuel prices due to the fallout of the US-Israel war on Iran have impacted most of the world, import-reliant poorer countries are among the worst affected and the most lacking in energy reserves to cushion the blow. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 35 points as the visiting Oklahoma City Thunder advanced to the NBA Western Conference Finals with a 115-110 victory over the Lakers on Monday, and completing a 4-game sweep in what potentially was LeBron James's final game for Los Angeles. Ajay Mitchell logged 28 points, and Chet Holmgren produced 16 points and 9 rebounds, and Jared McCain added 13 points as the Thunder improved to 8-0 in the playoffs. And Oklahoma City is set to face the Minnesota Timberwolves or the San Antonio Spurs in the next round.
That authorities in Malaysia have launched a search and rescue mission for missing people after a boat carrying 37 undocumented migrants sank off its western coast. In a statement on Tuesday, the Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency, MMEA, in the state of Perak said local fishermen have rescued 23 people so far, while 14 others are believed to be missing.
And tensions between the United States and Iran remain high, as Tehran warned it was prepared to respond to any aggression, after US President Donald Trump said the fragile ceasefire was on massive life support. Trump on Monday rejected Iran's latest response to his peace proposal, calling it stupid.
That Eurovision, the annual international music pageant watched and adored by millions of viewers around the world, begins this week despite boycotts over Israel's participation. The televised final round of the music contest is scheduled to take place on May 16 in Austria's capital, Vienna, this year, and will mark Eurovision's 70th anniversary.